The character was so interesting and layered and dynamic and complex. It was, I was just really excited to have those opportunities. But yeah, I did feel a bit like throughout filming, a bit like, throw me the ball. Like I want to do some of the action. So yeah, it was nice to do that a bit in the finale.
How you doing today, Joseph?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very excited to talk about the Halo Season 2 finale. I mean, it packs so much of a punch, so much game lore, so many exciting things. So I'll dive right in. I find it interesting to see Ackerson starting to move away from this sort of UNSC bureaucrat who loves his power to someone who is almost an ally to Chief and to Soren. What was it like for you seeing that arc as it went? And did you know about that from the start?
No, I didn't know fully about it. I knew that Ackerson was going to be painted as the villain in the beginning, and then we were going to find out that he wasn't actually, the antagonist, and that he'd been kind of led to a certain extent. But no, I wasn't aware of the unlikely allies that he would have later. I think sort of allies of convenience, when in the situations with them. So that was exciting to me. And then also, of course, the new threat that comes in the finale. I wasn't aware of that until I read the script and was like, oh my God. So yeah, very, very excited about that. And, who knows, should we go for a season 3 where Ackerson will end up, because he's been left, on this ship with Soren, and he's got no organization anymore. He's got no allegiance. He's got no job. So he's, he's in the market for a new career. And I think he's also been through something which is quite life-changing. He's sacrificed everything for an organization that ultimately betrayed him. And so I'm really interested to see where it could go from here.
So touching on that then, like you mentioned, he started as a villainous type of character for Chief and everybody else. Do you feel that he has started the path of redemption come the finale, or do you think he can even be fully redeemed given, the cloning situation with his sister and the assisted suicide of his father? What are your thoughts on his redemption? I
don't know. It depends what redemption means to you, really, because I feel like those two things were justified. But maybe because I'm very much seeing things from Ackerson's point of view. But the cloning of his sister was, to show Halsey how much she took from his family, and to demonstrate to her what she was doing time and time again, stealing these children away from people. Ultimately, most of whom wouldn't survive. And then his father, that was asked for by his father, it was a mercy. I think you have to see things from the point of view of your character, I think, when you play them, or at least try to understand where they're coming from. And but yeah, I do think that what happened on Reach has had a huge influence on Ackerson. I think it's changed the way he thinks about everything, the way that Parangosky kind of hung him out to dry. I think that changed his worldview. And so, yeah, I think there is hope for redemption. He's just got to find someone or something that he cares about now,
Well, hopefully Soren can help guide him as Soren himself tries to figure out what the next steps are. So that's I love that you took that point of view for him. Now, you mentioned the big threat in the finale, and as a huge fan of the games, I was so excited to finally see the Flood come in, and the blend of practical effects and visual effects for those characters was pretty exciting to see. What was it like for you on the set, seeing that sort of meld and having to act against them?
Oh, it was great. Having played the games as well, I had an idea of what I was supposed to be imagining. And then the effects makeup that they did, the special effects makeup and stuff, was pretty intense and incredible. And so, yeah, it was really exciting. There's a certain element of using your imagination, which kind of is part of the job anyway. So you just have to more vividly imagine what's happening. But yeah, it was exciting, mostly as well because I knew how much introducing that element would mean to the fandom of Halo, being one of those fans myself, how excited I was to read the script and go, oh, we're doing the Flood. Oh my God, we're doing the Flood. Yeah, so being on set and being a part of that, I would have been devastated if I wasn't in some way a part of that storyline as it, starts to affect the characters. So yeah,
I'm glad that Ackerson got to be a part of it too, because then we got to see some of his action skills from his own prior service. And I'm curious, most of the show we don't get to see that side of you, but what was it like, actually getting to be a part of that side? Even aside from the Flood, just getting to be a part of some kind of action in this very action heavy show. What was it like for you on that front?
It was great. I love the action stuff, and I've done a fair bit of it in the past. I've always really enjoyed the physical side of it. So yeah, I was excited to do that and explore it. I couldn't really complain earlier in the season because I felt like my scenes were so terrific that were written for me, and that the character was so interesting and layered and dynamic and complex. It was, I was just really excited to have those opportunities. But yeah, I did feel a bit like throughout filming, a bit like, throw me the ball. Like I want to do some of the action. So yeah, it was nice to do that a bit in the finale.
I love it. I love that you got to do it. So you've touched on the fact that you are a big fan of the games as much as I am. And I'm curious, this season has seen far better reception from both critics and audiences as it moves closer to the games. What's it been like for you? I know you weren't on board for season 1, but what's it been like seeing that sort of shift in reception towards the more positive side rather than a mixed side?
It's been very pleasing to me. I watched season 1 right around when I was offered the role, was when right after season 1 came out. So I watched the first 2 episodes of season 1, and then I read the first couple of scripts of season 2 on the same evening, I think. And first of all, I think it's a better show. I think it's a grittier, more grounded show, and it certainly introduces more elements of the canon, and it is more the Halo that I remember and love. So it's really pleasing for me to see people coming around to it and realizing like it's actually a terrific show now, and really much more like what we sat on a sofa with a controller in our hand and watching a little small 2D screen playing. It's great. Yeah,
I love where this season has gone as far as getting closer to that lore. So I'm hopeful for season 3. And I mean, you mentioned it at the top, that you're hopeful as well. But have you heard any possible progress on?
Have you heard anything? Because
haven't heard.
Know something, and you're here to tell me. Then, no. I mean, look, I know that the show was well received critically, and I know that we've had a very passionate and positive response from the fandom, and I know that it got some great numbers in terms of viewing figures. So that's it. That's all I know. I'm waiting for the phone to ring, man. Like I would love to come and do another season. Also, especially because I feel like there was a changing of the guard for season 2, and the new showrunner David Weiner brought me on. He was responsible for me being a part of the show, and he was responsible for changing the vision of the show and the direction of the show. But he also had the cards dealt to him from season 1 of like, here's where you start, you have to play off this. But now I feel like, well, especially with the introduction of the Flood, now like season 3 is going to be epic if we get to do that. So yeah, I am very hopeful.
I hope you get that phone call soon. And I wish I was here breaking the news for you, but sadly no. For my very final question before I let you go, I know I have many people at Screen Rant who are big Vampire Diaries fans and who still are saddened about Klaus's death all these years later. Yeah. Do you have any words of consolation for them as the universe continues to possibly expand with future stories?
First of all, thank you to everyone who came with me on that journey, because that was a hell of a ride, and I invested a lot of energy and emotion in that character, and I'm really glad people responded to it and to him. I think that character's story is told. I wasn't even going to come back to Legacies. I just did that final episode because it was the final ever episode, and I thought, go on then, why not? It'll be nice to like bring him back once more. And it was such a beautiful speech Julie wrote for me, so I did that. But I feel like his story is told. I would, however, like to do something in that world, like the vampire world again. My wife and I have a little production company, and we have a project in development that is does take place in those sort of darker realms. So I would be excited to do something like that, certainly. But yeah, more than anything, I just appreciate the fandom that invested in that terrible vampire werewolf hybrid who did awful things. Shame on you all, by the way, for supporting him.
I think they'll both love and feel a little shamed to hear shame on you. But nonetheless, though, I love that you're going to hopefully dive in with your own production company. But in the meantime, Halo Season 3, let's keep those fingers crossed for that call. So thank you so much for taking the time. I greatly appreciate it, man.
Oh, no worries, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.